to real history. She had lost her throne, her enemies wanted her dead, and one young queen risked everything. The city of Alexandria glittered beneath the winter stars. Moonlight danced across the dark waters of the harbor, turning the sea into a sheet of silver. Beyond the waves rose the greatest city in Egypt, a city of marble palaces, towering temples, and streets crowded with merchants from every corner of the known world. Yet behind its beauty lurked fear. Egypt was at war with itself. Only months earlier, Queen Cleopatra VII had ruled beside her younger brother, Ptolemy XIII. They were supposed to share the throne, just as their father had ordered before his death. But power had little patience for harmony. Powerful men at the royal court had turned the young king against his sister. Before long, Cleopatra had been driven from Alexandria and forced into exile. Now she waited beyond the city's walls. She was 21 years old, a queen without a throne, a ruler without an army strong enough to reclaim her kingdom. And time was running out. Far across the sea, another war had shaken the world. Rome's greatest rivals, Julius Caesar and Pompey the Great, had fought for control of the Roman Republic. Caesar had emerged victorious. Pompey fled eastward, seeking refuge in Egypt. He never found it. The advisors surrounding Ptolemy XIII believed they could win Caesar's favor by murdering the defeated Roman. When Pompey landed on the Egyptian coast, they betrayed him and cut him down before he could even step safely ashore. A few days later, in the autumn of 48 BC, Caesar arrived in Alexandria. When Pompey's severed head was presented to him, the conqueror was horrified. Instead of gratitude, the Egyptians found themselves facing a furious Roman commander. Caesar entered the royal palace determined to settle Egypt's civil war himself. For Cleopatra, the meaning was terrifyingly clear. If her brother reached Caesar first, her cause was finished. Perhaps her life as well. Somewhere within the palace walls sat the most powerful man in the Mediterranean world. She had one chance to speak to him, one chance to convince him, one chance to survive. The problem was simple. The palace was guarded. Her enemies controlled the city. Every gate, every corridor, every entrance was watched. A queen could not simply walk through the front doors. But Cleopatra had never been ordinary. As darkness settled over Alexandria, a small boat slipped quietly across the harbor. Only 2 people occupied it. One was Cleopatra. The other was a trusted ally named Apollodorus of Sicily. The water lapped softly against the hull as they moved through the shadows. Ahead, the royal palace loomed over the harbor like a fortress of white stone. Torches flickered along the walls. Guards paced the entrances. Failure meant imprisonment, perhaps execution. Yet Cleopatra pressed forward. Ancient writers tell us that she devised a daring plan. Unable to enter openly, she concealed herself inside a large linen bedsack, a bundle normally used to carry bedding and furnishings. It was an absurd idea, a queen of Egypt reduced to hidden cargo. But desperate moments often demand desperate solutions. The linen wrapped around her. The world disappeared. Darkness surrounded her. She could hear only her own breathing and the distant sound of waves against stone. Then came movement. Apollodorus tied the bundle securely and lifted it onto his shoulder. Every step carried her closer to the palace, closer to Caesar, closer to either salvation or disaster. The journey through the gates must have seemed endless. Soldiers stood watch. Servants hurried through corridors. Voices echoed against marble walls. At any moment, someone might demand that the bundle be opened. At any moment, the deception could collapse. But it did not. Apollodorus continued forward, past the guards, past the servants, past everyone. At last he reached Caesar's private chambers. Inside, the Roman dictator was conducting the business of kings and empires. He had marched across continents. He had defeated armies. He had survived countless conspiracies. Yet nothing could have prepared him for what happened next. The bundle was placed before him. The cords were loosened. The linen unfolded, and out stepped Cleopatra. The queen emerged from the wrappings with all the confidence of someone who had wagered everything on a single throw of fate. For a moment, the room must have fallen silent. Before Caesar stood not an exiled fugitive, but a monarch, young, intelligent, determined, a woman who had risked her life simply to reach him. Ancient historians wrote that Caesar was immediately struck by her boldness, not merely by her appearance, not merely by her charm, but by the extraordinary courage of the act itself. It was the kind of gamble few people would ever dare attempt. Cleopatra understood something many rulers never learn. Power often belongs to those willing to seize the moment when everyone else hesitates. And so she began to speak. No record survives of their exact conversation, but we know its purpose. Cleopatra laid out her case. She was the rightful queen. She had been expelled through intrigue and betrayal. Her brother's advisors had plunged Egypt into chaos. She needed Caesar's support. Caesar listened. The hours passed. Outside, Alexandria slept beneath the stars. Inside, two of history's most famous figures spoke face to face for the first time. Cleopatra possessed qualities that impressed nearly everyone who met her. She was highly educated. She spoke multiple languages. Unlike many of her predecessors, she could speak directly with Egyptian subjects in their own tongue. Ancient writers praised not only her intelligence, but also the power of her voice and conversation. She understood politics. She understood people. Most importantly, she understood Caesar. The Roman leader did not merely admire courage, he rewarded it. By dawn, Cleopatra had achieved what seemed impossible. Caesar had decided to support her. The balance of power inside Egypt shifted in a single night. When Ptolemy XIII discovered that his sister had somehow entered the palace and gained Caesar's ear, he erupted with rage. Ancient accounts described the young king rushing before crowds, shouting that he had been betrayed. The city exploded with tension. What had begun as a secret meeting now threatened to become open war. Caesar attempted to restore peace. He summoned both royal siblings. He publicly declared that they should rule together according to their father's wishes. But the conflict had already gone too far. Alexandria descended into violence. The palace became the center of a siege. Roman soldiers fought through streets and harbors. Egyptian forces gathered against them. Plots unfolded behind closed doors. One of Ptolemy's chief advisors, the eunuch Pothinus, was eventually discovered conspiring against Caesar and was put to death. The struggle grew bloodier with each passing week. Yet throughout the chaos, Cleopatra remained under Caesar's protection. The desperate gamble had succeeded. Months later, the war reached its climax near the Nile. Caesar's forces defeated the army supporting Ptolemy XIII. The young king fled. During the retreat, he disappeared beneath the waters of the river and was never seen alive again. The civil war was over. Cleopatra had won. She returned to the throne of Egypt, not because she commanded the largest army, not because she inherited the strongest position, but because, on one extraordinary night, she dared to do what no one expected. Long after armies vanished and kingdoms crumbled, that moment endured. A small boat crossing dark water, a queen hidden inside a linen bundle, a palace filled with enemies, a door opening, a gamble unfolding, and a meeting that changed the course of history. For Cleopatra, everything that followed began with a single decision: not to surrender, not to flee, but to walk willingly into danger, wrapped in linen, carried through the shadows, and delivered directly into the presence of Julius Caesar.
If you enjoyed today's journey back to ancient times, I'd be truly grateful for your like. It's the best way to let me know that these stories are worth making. I'm already preparing another exciting story for you, so if you don't want to miss it, consider subscribing. I'll see you next week.